Hey everyone, it's Samuel. And welcome to Plot Hooks, the podcast where we explore the arts of narrative and collaborative storytelling in the world's premier RPG, Dungeons & Dragons. Today, in a special episode, Disaster Hamsters. How's it going today, everyone? I hope everybody out there is having an excellent day. Today's going to be a little bit of a different episode. We were actually just going to take the week off from the Plot Hooks podcast, but with the launch of Disaster Hamsters on the DM's Guild tomorrow, as of the airing of this podcast, it's launching on March 14th, 2021, we wanted to go ahead and just do a little bit of a primer. So today I'm just going to talk a little bit about the release, go over what to expect, and just get you hyped for this awesome supplement which we've spent the last 3 months working on. So as it's a bit of a quicker episode, this is also going to be a bit of a quicker announcement section. Just remember to follow us on all our social media. You can find us at Plot Hooks on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I want to remind you, as always, to check out our Patreon and support the show there if you would be so inclined. And we do have a new patron to shout out, Catherine. Thanks so much for joining the Plot Hooks family. We really appreciate your support. And all of you who follow us on social media, who rate and review the podcast, who just interact with us, we just really appreciate each and every one of you who make this job of running Plot Hooks just an absolute blast. And of course, transitioning into what we want to talk about today, one of the ways that you can support the show is by also purchasing our supplements on the DM's Guild. And that second supplement, Disaster Hamsters, goes live tomorrow. It's the culmination of, as I said, 3 months of work from me, Samuel, from Star Shinobi, and Ken Hart, who were two of our writers, from Holly, who you heard on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. She was both the final writer and also worked hard as our accessibility consultant and one of our editors. Nick from Know Your Role was the cartographer for this release. And Dire Quest was the amazing artist who did all the work for this supplement. I'll have the social media of all of us down in the show notes below. Be sure to give everyone a follow and just thank them for all their hard work, which made Disaster Hamsters amazing. There was also an amazing team of playtesters which worked with us to really refine this product, and you'll be able to see all of them on the credits section of the actual release as well. But let's get into the supplement. What is Disaster Hamsters? Well, at its core, Disaster Hamsters is an escape story. It is a tale which can be run as a one-shot, but also has enough material to be stretched to 3 or 4 episodes. It even has an additional chapter in one of the appendices. But at its core, it is the story of escaping from the laboratory of a nefarious alchemist. Jerry Heliot is a winter eladrin in the Feywild that has built a compound out of a massive tree which has become known as the Firewater Tree. And within this compound, he uses his nefarious experimentation for his own egotistical means. And through this process, a group of hamsters has been granted sentience by one of his maniacal experimentations. And upon realizing their predicament, these hamsters, also known as the party, must figure out a way to escape the compound and get out from under the experimentation of the evil Jerry Heliot. To do this, they have to go through 3 different stages. They have to escape their cage, they have to escape the laboratory in which they're housed, and then they have to go through the process of escaping the entire compound in order to get back outside. Through the process, you'll have the opportunity to interact with all sorts of different NPCs, including Cerise, the Phoenix, Cashew the Bunny, Snuggles and Scritches, the Displacer Kittens, and potentially even more. This adventure also includes a variant ending, which allows DMs to drop this narrative into existing campaigns, where instead of just being hamsters that were made sentient, the hamsters are actually the sentience of the party members that were ported over into hamster forms. And then the same adventure can take place, at the end of which the party gets transferred back into their proper bodies. And at the end of that variant ending, they get to actually match up against Jerry in their humanoid forms again and bring him to justice for his crimes. There is some heavy themes throughout this narrative, despite the fact that it is cutesy and goofy and you're getting to play as hamsters. And of course, that can be played up much more in one group and less in another, depending on your personal preference. But there is a serious theme that we put into this adventure of the mistreatment of animals by those who only value themselves. Jerry certainly falls into that category, and you can read more about his motivations in the actual supplement. But he is one that only cares about achieving his ends, and he is hurting others to do that. Unfortunately, this is something that happens far too often in the real world with experimentation on animals when it comes to testing products meant for humans or just for any other means. This is a real issue that we face in this world, where people who only care about themselves will exploit animals and even people for their own ends. And that's very much our villain. That's very much Jerry. I mention this because, of course, the mistreatment of animals is something that could be distressing to some, and I put that out as a content warning for the actual adventure. Be sure to practice self-care as you check out Disaster Hamsters. As far as specifics for this upcoming release, it has both an accessible version, which uses alt text and the Open Dyslexic font, and the standard version, both of which come with the purchase on the DMs Guild. The standard version is 50 pages, while the accessible one is a little longer just because of the size of the font. It includes the adventure, of course, as well as stat blocks for hamsters of every single Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition class, some magic items that you can come across in the adventure, unaltered versions of the art in one of the appendices for you to pull out and use for your digital tabletop needs, as well as that variant ending which I mentioned, along with 4 different stat blocks for Jerry, which allow you to face him off against the party at whatever tier they happen to be playing in at the particular time you decide to throw this into your story. So there's a lot of content in there, and we just really hope you enjoy it. Having played it and seen it played, it is just an absolute blast. Before we get out of here for today, though, as voted on Twitter, Scritches was chosen as the NPC to preview prior to the launch. And I want to talk a little bit more about that creature here. Scritches is a displacer beast kitten, actually the twin of Snuggles. Both of them were taken by Jerry and used to try to create guards to not only protect his possessions, but prevent his other experiments from escaping. Unfortunately, Scritches ended up becoming extremely aggressive and was relegated just to a certain portion of the compound, and even Jerry himself is rather scared of that creature. The party will come across Scritches in the midst of their escape. Might be a little difficult to deal with. I'm excited to hear the creative solutions that I'm sure so many different parties are going to come up with, and I'm excited just to hear your feedback on the adventure at large. So be sure to give the product a rating when you purchase it and use it over on the DMs Guild. Give us feedback on social media, either by contacting us directly or by using the hashtag DisasterHamsters. We're really excited, and we just hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you've enjoyed this little brief preview, so to speak, the day before the release. Honestly, it's hard to believe that it's here already after 3 months of working on this with such an amazing team, and I just want to shout them out again. Thank you so much. Nick and DireQuest and Star Shinobi and Ken and Holly and all of our playtesters. You all are so amazing, and I really hope you all enjoy Disaster Hamsters just as much as we did. But I think that'll just about wrap up this special Disaster Hamsters preview edition of the podcast. Thank you again, Catherine, for becoming our new patron. And remember to keep your eyes out on our social media on Sunday, March 14th, to be ready for as soon as Disaster Hamsters goes live. But from all of us here on the Disaster Hamsters team and from those of us here at Plot Hooks, I'm Samuel. Thanks from Becca and Izzy. And of course, Podcast Pupper Ellie. We will see you all again next week for a regular episode of Plot Hooks.